The weary Sandman made a bet with his sister, Death. He believed that if a human were granted immortality, they wouldn't last a century before growing tired of endless life and begging for death. Just then a drunken man started boasting loudly, mocking everyone around him for accepting death. He claimed that people only died because everyone else did, because they blindly followed the same foolish fate. But he was different. He would never die. He would live forever and enjoy every bit of life's pleasures. Little did he know, his words had been overheard by both the Sandman and his sister. The Sandman, who had lived for millennia, wasn't impressed. He was convinced that no rational being would ever want to endure an eternity of repeating the same days over and over. Death simply smiled and said she would grant the man eternal life. And the Sandman, he would have to witness how this mortal handled both the suffering and triumphs of 100 years. Then the Sandman approached the man and told him he had been granted immortality. But in return, the man would have to share what it felt like to live forever. "We'll meet again in this very tavern 100 years from now," the Sandman said. The room burst into laughter at what seemed like a ridiculous joke. The man, though amused, accepted the invitation anyway. The Sandman found himself intrigued by this mortal and started looking forward to the next century. 100 years flew by. In the same familiar tavern, the man returned as promised. Nervous, he immediately questioned the Sandman's identity. Had he made a deal with the devil? Was that why he had remained young and alive for a whole century? The Sandman gave no explanation. This so-called immortality was merely a gift from his sister, a way for the man to understand what it truly meant to live. The Sandman was only mildly curious about what the man had been through over the last century, but what he heard left him deeply disappointed. The man was still thrilled by life. He found it more wonderful than ever. The progress of time had made everything so much more convenient. He even recalled how 100 years ago, people had to wipe their noses with sheepskin. Now, they had soft white tissues. The Sandman pressed him again. Did he still want to live? Without hesitation, just as he had 100 years ago, the man answered yes. What the man didn't realize was that for the first time in ages, the Sandman's expression shifted. Something inside him had changed. But still, he agreed to meet again in another century. Time passed once more, and the day of their next meeting arrived. What answer would the man have for the Sandman this time?